RotoGrinders presents your first word in daily fantasy sports.
Let's go!
The Morning Grind. Stevietpfl and Company are here to jumpstart your analysis on today's DFS slate. Without further ado, here's your host, Stephen Young.
I didn't know where to start. I haven't done that intro in so long. Welcome, everybody, to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind podcast. I'm your host, Stevietpfl. It is Thursday. It's April 4th, and I am joined today by my good buddy, Chris Prince. You all know him in the DFS streets as Beermakersfan. Chris, what's happening, my friend?
Stevie, I mean, it's good to be back, and this a special occasion here. 8 years ago today, this podcast started, and it was you and I back then, 8 years ago. So glad to see the invite. Happy to be back, and love to see the success of the show. I'm a listener, love the show, but good to be a part of an anniversary. 8 years. I mean, time just flies, but happy to be here, my man. Talk some baseball.
Yeah, we're just talking about our kids and how much they have grown up. But Chris is one of my longest friends here at RG. We've been working together for, I feel like, over 10 years now. We did the first morning grind 8 years ago. It was opening day 2016. It's crazy when you think back. And I mean, I'm pumped. I sent you the message because, I mean, it was only right. And I'm probably going to hit you up again in 2 years for the 10-year and bring a whole bunch of people on for the 10-year one. But yeah, man, just a lot of fun to have you on and a lot of fun to say, heck, man, like podcasts don't last 8 years in this industry. No. So the fact that like we've been going strong for 8 years, we made it through COVID, we made it through all the stuff. And yeah, just, I mean, YouTube has been so much fun. Bringing on the YouTube live and, getting to hang out with chat live. And yes, I have a baby face. I have a new razor and I messed up the number and I shaved my wife hates it. Like my wife absolutely hates it. But yeah, so what's up, chat? Hope you're having a fantastic Wednesday night. And Chris, before we get into breaking down this 4-game MLB slate, really small slate, really interesting slate, pitching wise. Before we get into it, I'm going to do some giveaways on the show, and I wanted to start the show off right now by doing an RG swag giveaway. So I want you in chat to post one of your favorite memories of the morning grind. It could be recent, it could be old. Favorite memory of the morning grind, whichever one I like first or the best, I'm going to pick. So there you go. I mean, it's as simple as that. So someone who posts a good memory, and you cannot use the Siege episode where it had to get deleted. If you're an old listener, you know what I'm talking about. That's all I'm going to say. I was thinking about it earlier, Chris, and I was like, man, I don't know which. I mean, there's so many. I know there was a podcast once that Siege and I were recording live, and he needed a home run to win like 30 grand or something, and it was wild, just the reaction of that. And I mean, just so many memories of like before we recorded live where we would have to pause to like sweat some stuff out. And like now it's like there's no more of that. I mean, it happens live. Live bet Denny Hamlin the other night for 8-1. So wow. So
a lot. I mean, a lot of choices. That's the beauty of this. That the show's been going on for so long. I know you made a great connection with the audience out there. So I'm sure something will come in. And even you're going to be like, oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Like that's a great call. So a lot of great choices for the people, no doubt.
Recent ones 3 days ago where there was a race and Steven couldn't make a sentence. Yeah, I mean, that definitely happened. I listen, Sunday night race the same time as recording a podcast. Yeah. Favorite memory is y'all cashing me out. Hey, listen, I like those. So I'll let you guys post that in chat. We're going to get into this first game here. And Dave says he loves your 6-packs. That 6-pack, I mean, you have an anniversary coming up for that too, right? Like that thing's been around for a long time.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and see when the first one. I want to say it's over 10 years now, which, thank you to the team at RotoGrinders for keeping it along. And mostly thank you to the audience. As you know, you provide content. There is no content if there's not an audience. So as long as the audience is there, and I still love it. I still have the passion for kids and travel sports and lives and wives and jobs. And it's still a nice escape to just sit and talk some sports with your boys. So yeah, that video still going strong, still doing baseball. So thank you for the shout out. Much appreciated. Still love doing those videos.
Yeah, I mean, again, to do this stuff for so long, you got to be genuine, right? Like you have to be good at what you do, but you have to be genuine. If you're genuine and people like genuinely think that you're giving out information that you believe in yourself, I mean, that's what everybody is, looking for here in the long run. But all right, baseball time. 4-game slate, 3-game slate on FanDuel, 4-game slate on DraftKings. FanDuel left off the 7:40 game. DraftKings went with the 4-game slate. We get started with Pittsburgh at Washington, 8.5 total. Pittsburgh a 130 favorite. Martin Perez and Josiah Gray. Hey, these guys were like relevant like 8 years ago too. Let's start here with Martin Perez, breaking him down. I mean, really struggled just in general in his first start this season against Miami. We don't expect Martin Perez to go out and dominate any team, really. Any interest here in Perez on this smaller slate?
I mean, there's not a lot of great pitching options, so that kind of puts him in play. I'm not overly excited about him, but once we walk through the slate, or if anybody has taken a look at it, you're like, yeah, I mean, almost everybody is a viable option here, but on the lower end of the interest for me. I mean, he's kind of one of those guys, he's going to eat up some innings, not a huge strikeout guy, solid against lefties, but still vulnerable to right-handed power, especially 17 home runs to righties last season. So I'm not overly excited about him. I think he's in the player pool. If he makes a build, he fits the build, fine. I'm not going out of my way to go with Martin Perez here tonight, even in a good matchup with Washington. But I do think there's some bats here that can get to him.
Yeah, I mean, we're potentially taking like Gallo out of play, CJ Abrams, so like two of the bats that can beat you with the long ball and just beat you in general. Yeah, I mean, we don't know what the weather's going to be like, but the weather looks better for the 4 games. But right now, I think Perez is like an okay option.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm like running to play him, and I don't think anybody's running to play him. I feel like everyone's going to kind of play like Pablo Lopez, Tanner Bybee, and like you just try to look to be different a little bit. And I mean, I like Seth Lugo, and we'll talk about him too, but the other side of this game, Josiah Gray, 20% K rate last year, 337 WOBA. Struggled with both sides of the plate, gave up a lot of hard contact. Any interest here in Josiah Gray?
I mean, he's always intriguing, right? I mean, we see the strikeout upside. We're like, man, this guy has it. But when you look at the numbers, the strikeouts have actually gone down year by year by year. And this has been like a 4-year decline on his strikeout rate. So, and then you add in the opening day start against Cincinnati, 7 earned runs, 8 hits allowed, only goes 4 innings. The 6 strikeouts were certainly encouraging, but I don't, again, I think a little bit more upside, obviously, than a guy like Martin Perez, but not a guy I'm running to play here. Another struggle for him last year, his numbers were actually better on the road. I mean, at home, he really struggled. The ERA was about 5.5, a WOBA at 377. So I don't put a ton of weight in that, but it is another, kind of check against Josiah Gray here. So just like Perez, we like the matchup. Pittsburgh, sure, has some bats that can beat you, but I'm concerned that this guy's declining when he should be on the upswing of his career, and the numbers are steadily getting worse year in and year out.
Yeah, and like, I mean, matchup-wise, there's some strikeouts in this lineup for sure, but, you look at it and you're like, maybe Martin Perez can get some ground balls and get me 15. Right. What's Josiah Gray going to do? So I am much more interested in the Pirates bats for the second straight day. I'm going to be loading up on the Pirates. O'Neal Cruz had kind of a rough game. He was getting super like all the Pirates bats. I was watching that game. All the Pirates bats were getting super annoyed behind whoever was behind the plate in that game. And they weren't even balls. I mean, they were strikes. They were just getting annoyed. It was close calls, and the pitchers were getting all the close calls on that one. But O'Neal Cruz, Swazinski, I'm going back to the well on Swazinski and Reynolds. Tellis is going to be a cheap first baseman that we could potentially look at here on this smaller slate. But, I mean, really anybody that cracks the lineup here for Pittsburgh is going to be in my player pool today.
Yeah, I think they're very stackable, and I'm on a lot of the same names. I mean, Sawinski, big 271 ISO against righties. Reynolds is up there at 231. Cruz, like you said, coming off a bad day, and a lot of newer players, they see the bagel. They're like, what have you done for me lately? You make it a discount there, which we're probably seeing on Yordan Alvarez, from Wednesday night, a guy that's been a slow starter and putting up huge numbers. So like all three of those guys here tonight, Tellez, like you mentioned, good value. Even Brian Hayes, it's not like Josiah Gray is good against righties either. Lefties definitely have the advantage, but I wouldn't eliminate the righties here. So a lot of ways you can go. It's a cheap stack. Nobody's excited to stack Pittsburgh, but smaller slate, they'll see a little bit more ownership, but a lot of directions that you can go here. But Sawinski, Reynolds, definitely my favorite from the left side.
Yeah, I mean, listen, load up on some Pittsburgh bats here. Not the greatest ballpark, but I don't think it matters on this smaller slate. And then going to the other side here, I mean, on teams that you're not playing Martin Perez, and I probably won't get a lot of Martin Perez, but I mean, Lane Thomas hit left-handed pitching really well last year. Meneses should hit towards the top of this order. They should have Riley Adams in there at catcher, and he's a great catcher play on this slate, 3,500. He has a lot of pop, so I like that. We love playing Stone Garrett, but he's on the IL right now. Senzel's on the IL, and Robles got hurt in the game on Wednesday night, so he might not be in there either. Might be a watered-down lineup, which kind of bodes well more to Perez, but I definitely want to play some Lane Thomas today.
Yeah, he's my guy here as well. I mean, WOB over 400, ISO at 241. I mean, a bit lucky. The BABIP was up at 365. So, some of those numbers a little bit inflated for Lane Thomas, but a guy we know can hit lefties well. So, Meneses would probably be my next guy in this lineup. Then we'll see. Maybe you get some value with some of the injuries that you talked about here, but probably more of a one-off play here with Lane Thomas to save some money. Maybe I'm adding Meneses as a little mini stack here, but I'm not going overly crazy here with these Washington bats. Even if they're cheap, not a ton of upside in some of these other names that likely crack the lineup.
All right, before we move on to Cleveland at Minnesota, I think we got a winner. I have to give this one to Steven Smith. There's so many fun times early years of the podcast where there was jelly bean bets with Siege. So I gotta go with that. Hit me up on either Discord or Twitter, and I'll get you set up with the RG swag. But there was a lot of times, and CJ probably owes me a lot more jelly beans than anybody else that's come on the show. But we had a lot of great times. Early days morning grind for jelly bean bets. They were just fun. So I might see if I can get CJ to come on the 10-year anniversary show.
There you go. Let's have us a party, man. 10 years.
Yeah,
let's get like 10 of us.
We're not even gonna talk baseball or basketball in 10 years. The 10-year anniversary. We're just gonna bring on a bunch of people that have helped made this happen over the years. Listen, I consistently have done this for 8 years, but I've had a lot of help and a lot of good teammates here. So Cleveland at Minnesota, 7.5 total. Lowest total that we have on the slate. Minnesota's a 145 favorite. Bibee, Lopez facing off against each other. Bibee, he faced Oakland and he struggled. His command was awful. If he is garnering the chalky type of ownership, he might be my fade on this slate. I just hated what I saw just in general. And looking at his spring stuff, he didn't have the best spring. So he might be that fade for me today, Beer.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I'm intrigued by his stuff. I really am. I think this kid can really develop and become a top end of the rotation starter, no doubt. But smaller slate, what we're looking at ownership here now. Going back to last year, did face this Minnesota team 3 times, 18 strikeouts over those 3 starts, 7 earned runs, only gave up 1 home run. So, it's different team, but there's a lot of the same pieces in play last year, and did give us 6 or more strikeouts in 14 games last season. So you see the upside in the strikeout department. Now, struggled on the road. 11 of his 13 home runs came on the road. ERA was up at 3.8 on the road, where it was 2.11 at home. He is good against lefties. but righties did hit 11 of 13 home runs against him. So it's kind of a mixed bag. I'm intrigued. If ownership's going to be crazy, I'm with you. I don't mind the fade here, but I do think he presents enough upside where if the ownership is not crazy, it's a matchup that he clearly can thrive in. Can we get into 7, 8, 9 strikeouts? Sure. He's shown us that plenty of times. So it will be kind of an ownership type play here. Smaller slate. My guess is a lot of people look this direction. We don't have a lot of options. So, one of those times that you're watching ownership, gets to a certain level. Okay, I'm staying away. If not, people are flocking to Lopez, to Lugo. Maybe they're going with Perez. Then I'm intrigued here because I do think he has the upside.
Oh, I 100% agree. Watch Joe Ross pitch decent against Minnesota on Wednesday, the day slate. So Bibee, he could pitch well. It's more of an ownership thing for me, but you make a good point with Lugo. Lance Lynn might garner some ownership today. Yeah. So maybe Bibee in my head is just higher. I'm inflating him in my head a little bit. If he's not going to be popular, I have a lot of interest in him here. I'm with you, though. I agree. I long-term wise agree with the stuff. I think the stuff is great. Before we talk about Lopez, Dean says he wanted to let me know well in advance he's available for the 9th anniversary show. Dean is part of the success of the Morning Grind. Dean did a lot of podcasts and interviews and stuff during COVID, so shout out to Dean. He's part of the success. I give him crap all the time, and it's just because he's been my friend for as long as everybody else. There's 6 or 7 of us that have worked together for 10 plus years, and we just get along, and I hope Dean knows I'm kidding most of the time. Pablo Lopez.
I'm going to give Dean a shot. I love me some Dean. Dean and I go way back as well. Just a staple here at RotoGrinders. So glad to see him mixing it up here in the chat.
We talk about memories. One of my favorite memories, we were out in Vegas. I think it was the second time that we were out in Vegas. And Dean bet me I don't even remember who it was. It was somebody for the Titans. I was like, this dude's getting at least 50 yards. Dean's like, no chance. I had a 70-yard catch his first play. And I have a picture on my phone somewhere of Dean holding a $20 bill up next to his face because he had to find me. I found him instantly as it happened. It happened the first 5 minutes of the game, and I was like, I tried to tell you.
I think I remember that picture. Didn't he look mad? He's holding the 20.
Oh, yeah, he looked. I'm like, all right.
This up, yeah, classic.
I'm gonna see if I can find it, and I'll show you guys that are watching live. Pablo Lopez, he's going to be chalky. It's a tough matchup. Cleveland is a low strikeout team. I just don't see how we get away from Pablo Lopez on this slate.
Yeah, so I'm going back to last year, but again, he had 3 starts against this team, just 13 strikeouts over those 3 starts. So it kind of emphasizes your point that it's not a big strikeout team. He looked good in his first start against the Royals. Everyone's going to look good against the Royals, but 7 strikeouts in 7 innings here. And very good against righties. He's going to shut down a lot of righties. Pretty much lights out against right-handed hitters here. So the problem is Cleveland does have some lefties that I have some interest in. And, it is the better side of the plate here. You likely get lower ownership. I always love targeting one of the either expensive pitchers or highest owned pitchers because you just naturally get leverage and lower ownership on some of these Cleveland bats here. But he certainly has to be a part of your player pool. Cash games, he's probably the safest option, but that history, along with what you just mentioned, Cleveland just not a big strikeout team. So there are some concerns here, and that's every pitcher on the slate. We're going to have concerns. So probably the highest floor in the ceiling. Again, I'm going to keep an eye on ownership here. If it's out of control, we do have some other options you can go with, but does provide you the safest floor and probably ceiling combo that there is on this slate.
Yeah, so if I mostly play 3-entry max stuff, or build 3 to 5 teams just in general. So on a 3-entry max on this slate, I'll probably have Lopez on 2 of 3. I don't know if I want to be 100% on anybody on this slate. I don't feel comfortable about 100% on anybody. Glasnow, I was 100% on him on Wednesday's slate. I played him. I think I played him and Christian Javier on every team I built, whether it be DraftKings or FanDuel. Those are the 2 guys I used. But yeah, Lopez, you mentioned the lefty struggles. There's a potential to hit 8 lefties against him in this spot. And that's what you're concerned about more than anything. Still, it's not like there's a lot of power in this lineup. You got Jose Ramirez, you got Josh Naylor. Bo Naylor is a strikeout risk, but he has some power. It really could potentially come down to, 7 innings or 5 innings and a lot of BABIP So you're always worried about that too. Bats, Cleveland Bats on non-Lopez teams. Any interest in the Cleveland Bats?
I think this is a spot you could get a little bit different, especially if his ownership is going to be up there. I don't mind a little mini stack here, and you really rattle off all the names I'm interested in. Jose Ramirez, 134 WRC plus against righties last season. Josh Naylor, 354 WOBA, and then Bo Naylor. DraftKings, we have to knock out our catcher. I'm assuming he's in the lineup. He's right there with Ramirez, 134 WRC plus, WOBA over 360, and a big ISO number as well. At over 250. So, you do get some power with these guys. Again, it's not the most exciting stack going with these teams, but I would generally stick with the lefties here. Lopez has been that good against right-handed hitters. And like I said, we may see almost a whole lineup of lefties here. So maybe a little mini stack here. Ramirez and the two Nailers will be the guys I'm targeting.
Minnesota side here. I feel like if you're going to attack Bybee, you got to attack him with like left-handed power, right-handed power hit him somewhat last year too. He was, you attack him, I feel like with just power. So maybe like a Buxton, Kirilloff, Kepler mini stack. I don't want to stack either one of these teams like full stacks, but if you're going to attack him, I feel like that's the three, maybe Julian. I'm not touching the bottom half of the order here though.
This almost feels like Washington we talked about. Like, I like Lane Thomas. I don't like much else. Minnesota, I like Byron Buxton. I don't like much else in this lineup. He did deliver an ISO over 230 against right-handed pitching last season. So he would probably be the guy if you need the one-off. He's not cheap, but that's the direction I'm looking at. I don't hate the lefties here. I'm not going out of my way to get him in my lineup either.
All right, before we move on to Miami at St. Louis, so fitting, by the way, we're moving on to Miami. I found the photo of Dean. It was from 2015. I hope the green screen's going to mess it a little bit, but there's Dean. It says this photo. It says the photo was taken 13 minutes after one. So right after luck.
Sounds about right. We had some late nights. I really wish we could get back to that. Like, Nashville, we've had some fun RotoGrinders Super Bowl parties, but there is nothing like the original crew in Vegas just tearing it up all night. We could probably do a 3-hour podcast on Vegas alone from the RotoGrinders party. So I'm glad you still have that picture, and I remember that like it was yesterday.
The liver remembers it. We had some great times. I found a picture as I was going here. I was going to share this one too. This is like the original trio. Oh, I just had it. All right, I'll pull it back up. But it was the original trio. It was me, you, and Noto in our favorite spot in Vegas. Darn. All right, I'll find it here. I know exactly where it's at. I know the dates now. So Miami at St. Louis, 8.5 total. Cards a 144 favorite. Ryan Weathers back in our lives. Lance Lynn on the Cardinals side. I could build 150 teams today, and I wouldn't play a Ryan Weathers team.
Nope. I don't. Yeah, I'm with you. And this guy, high draft pick, a lot of hype, and I just don't think he's ever going to get there. So. And not a great matchup here, right? Righties have really gotten him, especially power righties. We're talking the career numbers, 1.84 home runs per 9, WOBA over 380, almost a 37% hard contact rate. And it's not that he's great against lefties either. That's the thing. Like, the righties have the splits advantage, but lefties are in play here too. So just so many ways. St. Louis, a team I really want to get aggressive on the bats with this team. Just such a good matchup here. And just, this guy is one of those guys. You see him on the slate, I want to target him. I just don't know that he's ever going to live up to the hype.
He did have a decent spring. I'm not believing it. I'm out. I don't believe it. If he's the guy that beats me on this slate, so be it. The Cardinals were one of the best teams in baseball against left-handed pitching last season as well. They still have Contreras, Goldschmidt, Arenado, that really strong, like 3 or 4 guys at the middle of that lineup. So I'm out on Weathers. And then I actually kind of have some slight interest here in Lance Lynn. He's a guy that can eat up some innings. We know he's going to get like 3 to 6 strikeouts. If he can eat up 5 or 6 innings here, I think he's just okay, but I think okay is all right on a 4-game slate like
Right.
this.
Yeah, beggars can't be choosers, right? I mean, we gotta deal with the options that we have. So feels again, I'm gonna make the comparison to Martin Lopez or Martin Perez. Just yeah, I mean, okay, it's a guy. Can he give me enough upside to get it done? I don't know that he can. I think Perez I'd give a slight advantage to. I mean, going back to last season, over his last 14 starts, Stevie, only twice did he give us over 6 strikeouts. So we're almost begging for that 4 to 6 range, and we're happy with that. The problem is Miami, strikeout rate to start the season is up there at 25%, but last year this was a top 10 team in fewest strikeouts against right-handed pitching. So, the other option, the other problem with Lance Lynn, the power, 44 home runs allowed. I mean, my God, is that a massive number? So you worry about that. The counter to that is, what lefties, what power are you really worried about with the Miami Marlins? There's not a ton of power in this lineup. So you see the good and the bad here with Lance Lynn. He's a guy, again, he's in the player pool. I'm not seeking him out. I think there's more upside, in Baby, some guys like that. But, I wouldn't eliminate him. Again, I'm not running to play him either.
Yeah, I watched Patrick Sandoval absolutely dominate the Marlins on Wednesday. They're one of my local channels for his like sports, and I can't get them on like the MLB TV. So I always have it up on like my TV. Marlins and Rays games, day baseball, always up on my TV. And dude, they were just whiffing. It was hard to watch. So I mean, I could see Lance Lynn getting like 4+ strikeouts, 5 innings, potential win here with Weathers on the other side. Potentially enough. I mean, again, it's a 4-game slate, and we don't have like a true ace on this slate. So, I mean, Pablo Lopez is probably the closest thing to that. All right, I found the photo. First RG trip to Vegas. We got me, Beer, Noto, and Miss Noto there. So good times. I still have one of those green Senor Frogs cups somewhere in my house. The kids play with all the time. So
I will say we got our money's worth. I mean, I want to say that used to be. I don't remember what that cup cost, but it was an all you could drink, like $30 or $40. They would just keep filling this cup up, and we're talking 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 hours of just straight partying, straight drinking. They probably shut that promotion down. I mean, we definitely took advantage of that. I'm glad I don't have a cup still, but it would be prominently displayed if I did. So I'm glad you're still rocking that cup.
I got a cool Senior Frogs shirt that Cam bought me. First or second party. I can't remember. It's up in my closet. Needless to say, it doesn't fit me anymore, but I still keep it.
I mean, that's obvious.
I have my original.
8 years older. We're all 8 years older. 8
I have my original I have my original RG shirt, the first one I ever got. It is worn down, but I keep it for fun. All right, let's give away some RG Premium. Week of RG Premium. First person to guess what our nickname was, me and Beer's nickname for the RG basketball. We used it a couple times on shows and stuff. If you're an old listener, you might get this. If not, we'll pick a random person just for fun. Let's go to the bats here on the Miami side of this game. Lance Lynn gives up the long ball, but who are we chasing? I mean, maybe Jake Berger or Jazz Chisholm. I don't know if I really want to play a lot of Marlins bats because they just don't have a ton of power, but I love chasing home runs against Lance Lynn.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's the lefties too. I mean, Lance Lynn generally pretty good against righties and really struggles with lefties. So Jazz Chisholm definitely stands out as my favorite. You could throw in Josh Bell. Araya is not going to get you with the power, but can still get there with some base hits. And Berger, like you mentioned, gives you the power. So this another team. I think you could build a little mini stack of, especially if Lance Lynn's going to see some ownership. I don't hate going here, but Chisholm definitely the guy with the most power. Josh Bell, frustrating. The guy that you there's so much potential there. Never seems to live up to it, but I would keep him in the player pool here as well. But Chisholm is the guy I'm targeting here.
Some funny nicknames.
Oh, I bet.
Some good ones. Chicken and Beer. That one's hilarious. Stevie was white chocolate. Bearded Brothers is a close one. I mean, that's not too bad.
Solid.
Beer Nuts. Oh, you almost spit out your beer.
Yeah, and you're the nuts in that scenario.
I mean, yeah, well, there's always one, right?
Yeah. Sure.
Cardinals side, I like the Cardinals today. I think this is a stack that I'll definitely be playing on a small slate. Weathers is a guy that's hittable, and as bad as like Arenado and Goldie have been, they always are guys that are on my list here when you're facing lefties.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers down last season for sure. I mean, it was almost shocking looking at the numbers like, man, these guys were that bad. I mean, I'd say bad, but we're so used to them putting up such gaudy numbers against lefties. So to see their ISOs under 200 was a little surprising, but those are the guys I want. You add in Contreras, who led the way in ISO. I think Gorman even, Weathers is not, allergic to lefties either here. Even a Jordan Walker, you want to go down the lineup a little bit. You want to, wrap around stack. I know he hasn't lived up to the hype, but I think there's a lot of ways that you can go here. But the heart of that order, and especially Goldschmidt, Arenado, Contreras, are going to be a big part of my builds. I'm not saying all in. I don't love the 100% lock them in here, but this is one of my favorite spots to attack with those three guys. Add in a couple more. Again, get creative with Walker, save yourself some money. A lot of ways that you can go here.
All right, Yeezy got himself
Winner.
a week of RG Premium.
Winner.
We were the Twin Towers. Yeah, we played on the same basketball team in the first RG party, and we're both really tall. So I don't know where the nickname came from. I can't remember what I had for lunch yesterday, but yeah. So
now,
especially after Vegas.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong here. We're strolling down memory street here. Was that the Fantasy Nomad basketball game?
It was, yeah.
shout out to Fantasy Nomad. I mean, you want to talk about a guy that went out, partied all night, and then showed up and played some hoops like he didn't skip a beat. That was Fantasy Nomad that day.
That's when we learned that Noto and CSU could ball.
Yes,
and
sure.
When
Both
we learned that
game.
Oh yeah, and we learned that Dan Bach can't. Sorry, Dan.
Yeah.
The
truth is the truth.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dan, but Stevie's not lying here.
Yeah, I mean, I can't ball anymore either. Those days are well past me. I could throw a disc like 450 feet, but throwing hoops, I'm out. My daughter will play volleyball and I'll shoot some hoops, and I'm like, man, I've gotten just bad at this. So
that's when I'm the same. Now you go into coaching. Like I can't play anymore. I'm getting old. Now I'll be a coach. So that's where I'm at as well. But I could still take Dan in a game of one-on-one and any day of the week.
I would just post him up. I mean,
oh yeah, too small,
I don't know if
right?
I'd play it.
Too small. Yeah. I'd give him that. The whole game. Too small.
Yeah, I don't know if I would. I don't know if I'd take Dan on the golf course anymore. He's gotten. I feel like Dan life has gotten good at golf. So
right. Living that executive life, you got to get good at golf.
Yeah,
you're high up there now. You're having all these meetings, so at least he's focused his energy in the right place.
I feel bad because he just made a nice post about us on Twitter. So, but hey, listen, I'll play some basketball against you.
He knows we love him. I mean, this is part of the fun, especially the OGs. We go way back. We talk a little crap about each other here.
I have a video still of him riding the bull at an RG party too. So I mean,
there's a memory.
Little blackmail. No.
I did beat him that day. That was a contest. He lasted about 2.5 seconds. I lasted about 3.5. So I'm still claiming victory on the bull riding.
Oh, I don't know where that video is at, man. I mean, there's
out there. My wife actually that got brought up a couple years recently. Remember when you were riding the bull? And I wouldn't say riding it. I'd say I got on there and got thrown off pretty quick. But yeah, I remember it.
That was like 9 years ago. I wouldn't even dare getting up on a mechanical bull nowadays. Them
days are gone. No way.
Woo. Derek says 3.5 seconds. Story of my life. White Sox, Royals.
Hey-o.
Hey, somebody that doesn't have RG Premium. If you don't have RG Premium, post in chat. I'm going to pick one of you. We're going to give you a week of RG Premium just for hanging out with us live. White Sox and Royals, 8 total in this game. Kansas City, a 162 favorite. Soroka, Lugo. I mean, Soroka is another guy that even on a small slate, I don't think he makes my player pool. he's not missing any bats. He didn't miss any bats in spring. He struggled last year, really struggled against the Tigers. I think I'm just out on Soroka here.
Yeah, I mean, the positives are he's going to get a good amount of ground balls. He's going to limit hard contact. So, those are intriguing signs, but he's not going to pitch deep into the game, not going to give you a lot of strikeout upside. Another guy that, is drafted very highly, and the Braves kind of, okay, we're done. We don't see it. We're letting you move on to greener pastures. So we made a case for Perez. Okay, he's in the pool. Lynn, okay, he's in the pool. I can't even do it here. To me, Weathers, to me, the worst pitcher on the slate. Soroka is right there as one of the worst options tonight.
Yeah, I'm out. I came up as like a prospect that had some stuff, and it just injuries and just not doing it, man. Just not doing it. Seth Lugo on the other side of this game. I mean, he was very serviceable in his first start. I'm worried that he gets popular, but I don't know if I can fade him because the White Sox just stink. This team is awful. What are your thoughts on Lugo?
I'm intrigued here. This will be another one. I don't know that he's going to see a ton of ownership here. I mean, and let's face it, a great year with San Diego. I mean, is really his first opportunity to start in like 6 years. You got to go back to 2017 when he was a full-time starter and really finished the season strong. 7 strikeouts in each of those last 3 starts here. Just 4 in the first start against Minnesota, but did go 6 innings. And he's pretty splits neutral here. I mean, lefties get to him a little bit more. The home runs certainly can be vulnerable there. Hard contact. So I do like this matchup. I mean, we got to like the matchup against the White Sox. I mean, Luis Robert, certainly a concern. A bat I really like. That's about it, though, when we're talking Chicago bats. So if he can pitch around the Roberts, the Jimenez's of the world, Moncada maybe, I think he can give us a decent number here. And so I don't know that he's going to be overly popular. Maybe I'm wrong here, but I think Lopez will stand out like a beaming light here, and Lugo maybe goes under owned. So I'm very intrigued with the matchup and some of the upside that he has shown us as a starter.
Yeah, you get the casual players too more than you do on like a night slate, like a 12-game slate. You'll get more casual players on this like 4-game slate on DK. And I feel like you're going to get more people wanting to just play the 4:00 games so they can like watch it all at the same time. Yep. This game is gonna like those 3 games are gonna be over before. I would assume that they'd be really close to over by the 7:40 start. So I like Lugo. My potential like main build is Lopez Lugo. Like that's what I was looking at before the show. A lot can change depending on like weather and stuff, but that's what I'm looking at here. Night before anyway. Let's talk some bats. White Sox bats. One of the reasons that I like Lugo, Jimenez is banged up, like you mentioned, Robert. But outside of him, I mean, this lineup just gets rough really fast.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not using Lugo, I do love Robert. 279 ISO against righties last season, so that would be my target. The Moncadas, the Sheets, the Shoemakes, cheaper options that you could roll out there. If you need some salary savings, I don't know that you're going to need the salary on this slate, though. So much prefer the Lugo side than loading up on the bats, but I do love some Luis Robert. One of my favorite youngsters. I hate that he's stuck in Chicago here with this team. I don't think he's here long term. I think eventually they blow it up. He moves on, but for this slate, I do like his upside here against Lugo. Just big-time power numbers against righties.
That's Aaron Rasmus is always in YouTube chat and hangs out with us live all the time. Aaron, hit me up. I'm going to give you one of the free weeks of RG Premium. And RC Player says he's been around since the Siege days. Let's try it out. Let's give you some premium as well. You guys message me. Yeezy message me. Yeezy, we'll do a week of NASCAR instead of RG Premium. I'll make that happen. So there you go. You guys, if I call you out, hit me up. Because I'm not.
I want to know, do Yeezy like actually remember that? Because I know that he's been around forever.
He did say OG right after. He said OG after.
And he is an OG. This guy has been a big supporter of RotoGrinders. See him in all of the content, all of the comments. So we appreciate everything he's done. But I want to know, does he remember that? Was it just a good guess? My hunch is he remembers it. He's been around that long. But shout out to Mardon Yeezy, one of our biggest supporters here at RotoGrinders.
Yeah, listen, OG listeners are just as good as OG people. So
love it.
All right, before we one more, hey, before we get into the Kansas City Bats, we're gonna play the morning grind game here in a second. If you can guess my home run pick before we play the morning grind game and we give out our pick, I'll give you an RG swag item. Kansas City Bats, all of them. I mean, all of them. I don't play Kansas City very often. They give you some stolen base upside. They give you get on base type of upside, but not a team that I'm like running to play. But I like them a lot today. This is going to be the team that I'm probably going to be the heaviest owned on today. I just don't believe in Sorka. I don't believe in this bullpen. I really like the Royals bats today.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I like St. Louis a little bit more, but good spot here for the Royals. And you can never go wrong with a Bobby Witt, Salvador Perez. These guys are going to put up numbers against righties, against lefties. Does not matter here, but I do really like the lefties in this spot. Velasquez, Pasquino. Those are the bats I think you want to stack with Witt, with Perez. But I'm with you. Again, the Cardinals, the team I want the most of, but the Royals are right there against Soroka for me.
All right, let's play the morning grind game here. I have to throw out a little of the pricing because of what we're looking at, but let's do a pitcher that you like on the slate to get 6 or more strikeouts. Pricing doesn't matter. Anybody that you like to get 6 or more strikeouts here.
Oh, 6 or more strikeouts. Who we go?
It's harder than you think.
I know that, and that's the sad state of affairs that we're dealing with on this slate here. So I'm torn between. I don't want to give the Lopez the easy answer. I'm not going to say that's probably your answer, but I'm going to stay away. I'm torn between Bibee and Lugo. I'm going to go Lugo against this team. Again, gave you the stat. Ended 2023, 7 strikeouts in each of the last 3 starts. So I'll go with Seth Lugo to get it done for us.
I don't know if it's a hot take, but I don't know if Lopez gets 6 strikeouts today. I'm hoping his strikeout prop comes in at like 6.5. If his strikeout prop comes in at 6.5, I might bet the under on 6.5 for him. Cleveland, a very high contact team. You're playing Lopez for 6 to 7 good innings today. I feel like more than strikeouts. Dude, I'm gonna go Lance Lynn. I watched the Marlins whiff so much on Wednesday. They had to fly out after that game was over. Give me Lance Lynn here against the Marlins. Bust pitcher. I'd like to say over 7K. So Perez and up, somebody that you don't think is going to score 15 fantasy points today.
Oh, I mean, I hate to take a dump on your strikeout pick here, but I'm going Lance Lynn. It's
a 4-game slate. There's got to be some poo-poo somewhere.
There's going to be a little bit of crossover here. So I'm gonna say Lance Lynn. 8,100. I agree with you. Miami, the strikeouts have been concerning here, but it's been a long time since we've seen some upside from Lance Lynn. And shout out, he did well against the Dodgers. I think a lot of us thought he was going to go and get blown up. So. He was serviceable here. I just don't see it. I think Miami gets it going here sooner rather than later, so I'm going to go Lance Lynn here.
Yeah, I'm going to go Bibee. Again, I think he's going to be somewhat popular. If he's not chalky, I'm going to play him for sure. Greg says Lopez K-prop is 5.5. Really wanted to see 6.5.
Yeah,
Hard Rock. Hard Rock, on the other hand, you never know.
Yeah. Right.
I won't take the under on. Yeah, I won't take the under on 5.5. All right, over 4,000 to hit a home run. Who is going yard today? And someone did guess mine. And I am ready to give you some RG swag, so don't worry.
I am going to go with Lane Thomas against Perez. We mentioned 17 home runs to righties last season, the numbers, and even with the inflated BABIP, I mean, just incredible numbers against left-handed pitching. So he's a tick above 4,000, but I really like if his home run odds are up there. That's one I'll be searching out tomorrow. If we can get him over like plus 400, likely more in the plus 350 range, I'm gonna say Lane Thomas here.
I'm going to go with my boy, Paul Goldschmidt, to hit a home run. B-San said it first. A few of you know me. Listen, chat, you guys are awesome. There's a lot of people that posted Goldie, but B-San was first. B-San hit me up. Got an RG swag item for you. All right, under 4K to get 2 hits. I feel like we got some options for this one today. Who's a cheap bet that you like that's going to make some contact today?
I mean, I wish we were at 4K because I'd say Contreras hit that 4K mark, but we'll go under 4K, and I'm going to go with Velasquez of the Royals here. I'm assuming he's in that lineup against Soroka, a guy that we both have shared concerns with here. So I think he can have a big power night as well. So I'm going to go with Velasquez under 4K to have a big night.
Aaron said that would have been my guess. He needs Goldie for the rookie cards. I have some unique Goldschmidt. I have some unique Goldschmidt 1-of-1 cards that I'm just waiting for him to get into the Hall of Fame. Like I'm literally just holding them until that Hall of Fame moment, and I'm just gonna sell them all. So there you go. I'm gonna go. I think I actually said him yesterday too. Give me Jack Swazinski to get
thought about him.
2 hits. I don't know. I didn't write it down yesterday, so chat will tell me if I picked him or not. But I like Swazinski.
He was on my short list for sure.
Stack. Give me a stack to score 6 or more runs today.
I love the Cardinals here, so I'm gonna pile on your Goldie love here. But Goldie, Arenado, Contreras, add Gorman in there. Walker's cheap. I really like the Cardinals here tonight.
I hear you, man. I hear you. I like Kansas City. I'm gonna go with the Royals. I don't see any player props, not a ton of player props up yet, so we're gonna pass on the player props question in the morning grind game. Is there any lines that you like here, over unders or anything?
Nothing jumps out. I mean, the Cardinals kind of go with the stack, so I really like the Cardinals. I think they can cover that spread. I like their over on their team total if we want to go that route. We gave you the home run numbers on a few guys. If we can get some plus odds on Lane Thomas, even Velasquez, as we mentioned, but I'm gonna say Cardinals. Oh, I'm guessing it'll be 4.5. So I don't mind the over there. I think they're gonna put up some runs. So give me that one as my favorite bet here early on.
Cardinals total runs minus 105 at 4.5. That's what I'm looking at here. So
a little bit of a discount there, minus 105. I'll take it.
Yeah, so I'm gonna actually go to the same type of bet here, and I'm gonna take the Royals total runs. It's 4.5 at plus money right now. So like the Royals a lot today. I'll be looking, and I kind of like the Cardinals first 5 line because I do think that Lynn is better than Weathers. So I'll be looking at that as well. First 5 winner minus 150. I wish it was a little bit lower than that, but yeah, I like that as well. If you can find maybe a parlay or something that you like to throw that in there with. Before we get out of here, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind on YouTube. Comment on this video. For everybody that didn't get to watch live, we're going to do some giveaways on social today as well, like X and Instagram and Twitter and stuff, so you'll have chances to win some swag and stuff like that. Comment on the video if you weren't live with us. One of your favorite memories of the morning grind. We'll pick somebody for a swag item, and I'll pick somebody for a week of NASCAR. Like, that was fun. Someone wanted a week of NASCAR. There you go. So Martinsville's been a good track for me. So hopefully we can keep that rolling. Beer, dude, I am so appreciative that you took time and hopped on with me here. I don't like to bug you because I know what it's like to have kids playing sports, but listen, I'm going to bug you again in 2 years when we do the 10-year show. Always fun, my friend.
The pleasure was mine, my man. I appreciate the invite. I can't believe it's been 8 years. So congrats to you on doing this, for the people every single day. It's a labor of love. I know it. So, shout out to you. Shout out to all the listeners. Glad to be back. Glad to be part of the anniversary. Count me in for the 9-year, the 10-year, the 20-year, or even any time in between. You need somebody, I'm always here for you, brother.
All right, man. Well, it's always fun. I hope everyone enjoyed. Appreciate all the kind words and everybody hanging out with us live on YouTube. We're going to get out of here. Have a good one. We'll be back Friday talking more baseball. Good luck. We'll see you then.